All right, hi, I'm Rachel Binks, and I am here to talk to you about GIFs, of which I asked the question, good format or best format? So GIFs were started out in 1987. They're 25 years old, and they started off just as a protocol for, looping through different images. And due to the constraints of computers and, monitors and video, or not even video, but like image processing programs at that time, they, were usually that loading GIF. But what I want to talk about today is GIF as a medium, because they're really coming, sort of back into vogue and really into their own as a way of, communicating visually that stands by itself. Isn't that beautiful? So I think most people think of photography and video as sort of this spectrum that GIFs have to exist somewhere in between. And if you think about it that way, it's not really that satisfying, because they're usually too low-res, too choppy to be satisfying as photography, and not fluid enough to be video. This quote comes up on Reddit every time there's an unsatisfying GIF, like, oh, just make it video. But I don't think that's really, granted, well, it's not really a good way of thinking about GIFs as a medium. So I'd like to talk now about what makes GIFs successful on their own. And first of all, they tend to be fairly low number of images that you're putting together. And the most important part of a GIF is the loop. It's the way that the images are cycling over and over again. And you get this comedy effect from seeing the same thing that, you should be able to process it in the second or two that it first comes up, but seeing it over and over again is really fulfilling. And you can also see more of it, and it just gets funnier the longer that you stare at it. Isn't this great? 15 seconds? Love it. You can also have this dense narrative that just seeing it the first time, it's too much to take in, but seeing it over and over again, you really begin to appreciate all the different cuts of meat and the way that the deer is looking at you over and over again. It just gets funnier. You can get so much out of these GIFs. And you can also have some that are just, like a couple of frames switching back and forth. And this is a friend of mine who uses GIFs as a way of bringing depth into his comics, which I think is a really innovative use. See the little ping pong ball flying around. And then finally, they have the cinemagraphs, and this is the idea of a GIF as being able to capture an infinite moment. A friend of mine had a really nice thought about GIFs, which is each of them are their individual endless summer. And I like that idea. This is isolating a tiny part of a moving image and only animating that part and keeping the rest of it static. The creators of cinemagraphs thought of themselves as doing an evolution on photography. They thought that the word GIF was a bit too demeaning for the beautiful work that they were producing. I don't, but that's okay. They're still in the family. I think this is really just, an art form. And I have a quote coming up. Yes, okay, so this is sort of a long quote, but the best GIFs put you in a trance for as long as you want to be in it. But it's not trickery, it's not CGI, it's just photography, and it's getting easier and easier to create these, and so you're seeing them used more for self-expression or, memes. So on that note, I'd like to talk about GIFs as art, because you've seen, of course, them all over the place on Tumblr, I'm sure, but they're also sort of beginning to be thought of as high art, and I think that's really interesting. Certainly the level of photography, polish, and bandwidth at the moment are making this possible. Here we have a piece where, I forget the name of the artist, but he was interested in turning GIFs into something physical. So this is similar to a zoetrope, where you take a GIF and you print out frames from it, and then he's built this box that animates it. More interesting to me, though, is the physical to digital, where this is a graffiti artist who has painted the same wall several times in order to construct a GIF of the graffiti that he has created. I think this is stunning. And I have another piece coming up after this just because I wanted to include this. So he calls this the Gifiti by INSA. And I just love these photographs because, you can really tell that this is something out in the world, but it's an art piece that is made to be consumed via GIF. I think that's great. God, so good. So, and we even have the postmodernist GIF. This is in single frame. It is black, coated within the specification of GIFs, and yet, that's all you get. Every art form needs to go through its postmodernist phase. So I'd like to leave you with one final gift by Mr. Div. He's putting out really amazing work on his Tumblr right now. It's all sort of geometric, like very fluid animation, beautiful effects. I just think this is, like, if this isn't art, I don't know. And finally, a manifesto for you: acrylic on wood panel, oil on canvas, and GIF on Tumblr. Thank you.